Part-time? Would you have a website?
I'm working on it right now.
Okay, it's called I'mWorkingOnItRightNow.com. Okay, we'll go to that.
Some of his work.
Now I gotta remember that.
We'll just keep talking until the tape runs out.
Tattoo?
Yep, that's for a tattoo design.
That's a tattoo.
Nice.
Stationery and
That's cool.
various stuff.
So if anybody needs a CD cover,
Is there an email address?
yeah.
Yes, Peter at whitecoast.com. Heatter.
Oh, that looks familiar.
Hey.
Actually, on the back of it, there's a...
Oh, the email address.
There we are.
Okay, hold that up real quick. That's what I wanted. Thank you. Thank you.
For artwork, not a date.
Call him for artwork. Yeah, he does the artwork. He does the artwork, right.
For art, not a date. Maybe a date, right?
And that's all, folks, until next year.
Many people here came to hear about System 80 games and how when he came to hear about a replacement CPU it might help fix games. I mean, start with the first one. Okay, System 80 aficionados. Let me hear us raise a hand. Okay. And the rest of you need CPU or thinking about CPUs or are worried about where is this hardware going? Good show of hands. Thank you very much, please. All right. This presentation is about the Gottlieb System 80 CPU, the newest release from NeWumpf. We started in 1995. We put together the first reproduction CPU available, the System 1 Gottlieb CPU, and at that time, the objectives were pretty clear. The System 1 CPU from Gottlieb was hardware you couldn't buy, the CPUs were going away, and all of these System 1 games were not going to be around for too much longer without a new CPU. So when we designed that CPU, it was easy to figure out what we were doing. We just got to make something that works. We did things back then a little differently. We decided that since there was only 16 System 1 games, we didn't know who owned the copyright laws for Gottlieb System 1 games. We would go about and write all those 16 games over from scratch. So we did. We sat down, I had Sinbad, I loved Sinbad, I made a CPU, and wrote the code for Sinbad and made it run. We're great. We've sold them now for 10 years. And during that time, as we were going through the System 1 CPU, a lot of things started to change. Chip availability that we presumed was going to be around for a long time really didn't remain available. We were using Z80, and okay, that's been around forever, and it probably will be in some form or other, but our I/O controller, which was a chip we got out of a PC keyboard, and every PC keyboard had this chip in it. And we figured, back in 1995, that if there were keyboards, we were going to get this chip. Well, that was not true because things went to surface mount, and the through-hole part that we used quickly became obsolete as well. So about 2000, it became clear that the CPU has to be flexible enough to change with what's going to be available for hardware. I'm getting ahead of myself, so I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about today. I've already given you an idea of where we're going to start, which is why we started doing the project. I'm going to give you an idea of how we designed the CPU. I'm going to give you an idea of what a lot of people came back and said to me when we were going to surface mount. What am I going to do if I have to fix the CPU? There's nobody here qualified, me included, to pull off surface mount components off of a CPU board when it breaks. So it was a struggle, and I'll describe how the answer to that wound up for us. I'm going to give you an idea of our generic game-based diagnostics, how, in other words, the game itself uses diagnostics. Then I'll tell you, or if I can, I hope, I'll be able to demonstrate when I hook up the computer, or I'll be losing this display, to the System 80 game, what the computer can do for diagnostics. You can basically take a computer and say, light any lamp, fire any solenoid, light all the lamps, put pieces of display information on the screen, on display, so you can query memory a little bit too far more than you want to know, but enough to be able to diagnose your System 80 game if you're really trying to figure out what's wrong with it. Then I'm going to tell you about, okay, what it is that makes makes this CPU available for more than one game? How do we update the code in each CPU? One CPU I no longer use, as you can see. Well, you can't. If you look at this CPU, you can tell there is no plug-in holes for, for ROMs, for EEPROMs. You can't plug a chip into this, so all of the code is kept on this little chip right here. And it's a flash chip. How do we get to the point of being able to update that chip easily from one game to the next? Then I'm going to ask you guys, if you're System 80 people, what you want to see for support. Now, we've coded Spider-Man, Haunted House, Black Hole. As I started to describe, the System 1 CPU we put together caused us to write the code for the games as we went along. And we took that same theory going into the System 80 world. Now, there's a big difference between the System 1 games, of which there are 16, and the System 80 games, of which there are, I think, 45. I don't know if I'm ever going to code 45 games, but I'll tell you who will. And there might be a few guys in here. And if you stick around for the second part of the presentation, I'll show you what you can get to in case you want to get a little more involved with the hardware than you're used to in the past. Last thing is, I want to ask you guys, if you are System 80 people, what it is you want to see for releases of the code. The 3 games we have right now, Spider-Man, Haunted House, and Black Hole, are the largest production numbers from Gottlieb. Below that, there's a whole smorgasbord of 3,500 numbers of games produced. So, at this point, I'm going to ask you guys, which games do you want to get coded and to work with the CPU next? Counterforce, whatever, Devil's Dare, a lot of games out there. I'm going to try and put together a list of what games we should be hitting and in what order. Last thing, I'm going to give you an idea of what this little... in case you start doing work on the games themselves. Alright. First off, when I started this, there was a little more that went into the design of this board than they went into the System 1 board. After I was done with the System 1 board, the thing that came to my mind was, and I've done this work once, and I can use a hardware platform. I know how to make CPUs, and I know light gets, or that when that switch gets hit up there, light a lamp or fire a solenoid, and I could do that in about 2 minutes. But we don't have the internet, so the upload to the website won't be possible to do a compile to create the image to download then onto the hardware here. So unfortunately, we won't be able to do that tonight. If we go next door afterwards, we can do it there. But that's ways more there. Let's see, cross-platform, we've talked about what made us start on the hardware project. Let me give you an idea about what it is that we actually have. I should have brought a picture, but I'm gonna point to this thing and hope you guys can see it. As you can see, there is a variety of components on this board, but the most important things we're going to point you out to are the surface mount parts and the through-hole parts. The design of the architecture for the game is trying to answer those issues of when it breaks, how do I fix it? No one's going to be trying to do surface mount part replacement, and the parts that we chose to do surface mount with should be pretty much undamageable. Now if you look over this section here, you'll see a whole bunch of little... This is my input section for the switches, and it was based on, if you look at Gottlieb designs, Williams designs, you find out that the input switch matrix has a lot of buffering to really protect the CPUs from being frigged up in case you throw 40 volts onto a switch. And we did the same thing. So there are a set of diodes here, capacitors, resistors, to make any of the input coming into the CPU from the card itself involatile to 40 volts coming across it. Now these go into the pick here. Those parts you should not have to, you shouldn't be able to break those parts. They are the input parts. We've tested it. They don't break yet. Now the parts that do break are when you interface this to the driver board, when you interface this to the display board. Displays fuck up, pardon my language, displays screw up a CPU in a big sort of hurry. Anything, however, that comes out of this CPU board, goes to the driver board, goes to the game, anywhere, is buffered by all of the through-hole components. And these are the parts that are going to be acting as fuses. So when this board gets into a game where it's a non-working game for reasons other than the CPU, and the parts on the game try to freak up the board, they're going to do is they're going to burn out these buffer chips here, and these are replaceable. And these are easily accessible. 7406 is not a great chip, but very powerful in terms of taking the load. The 240s, LS240s, you guys can all buy those at Radio Shack, I think still. They don't hold much, but they have some of those parts. So basically, the idea behind it is there is surface mount parts on here. Those parts should be pretty much protected completely by a layer of through-hole parts that you can replace. Serviceability, this should be able to work. Now, the System 80 game is it's a whole lot better designed than System 1 game. When they break, they usually break for other reasons than the driver board has a problem. So we don't see a lot, and this is, we don't see a lot of failures yet. I've been prototyping different boards now for 2 years. This was designed before that came up. That was last year's prototype. This is 2 years ago prototype. We've been working on this board for 2 years and haven't been able to break anything on it. I'm assuming it's going to happen though. So right now there are three little components that can be replaced in case you get something bad on the system itself. Now, the other part to the game and the software is what is on this board here. You'll be able to see. Hang on. Development system for all of the platforms that we're going to be releasing. If I make a Bally board, you're going to see this same set of components on that Bally board. A Williams board, you're going to see me now. When I make a Williams board, it will have all these same components. Now these components basically form up the I/O. It can do 16 by 16 switch inputs, so you could have 256 switches into this board. You can split the switch inputs into 16 by 8 normal switches, 16 by 8 optical switches. These different chips here, you can program the levels to accept 5 volt input or 12 volt input. So when we go to the later style of CPU, this same type of hardware should be usable. Now what really makes the difference is what connects it to the platform game itself. And of course this is the System 80 platform. This is all of the physical I/O that gets controlled by that CPU down there. We're not going to be producing this because it's a little more complex. We talked to Steve Young, Mark Mandeltorp. Hey guys, here's this little chip that you program for your Bally game, and then you plug it into the backboard here and ship it off to your customer. When the customer says, I want a black hole, make sure you download black hole to this, and you're all set. They didn't want to do that. They didn't want to put one part in the other. In fact, they didn't like the fact we didn't have dip switches at all. We were kind of stuck. We had to go into how are we going to program these games. I'll get to that now. So this is what we wound up with for our first release. This is the System 80 board itself. Alright, I'm going to give you an idea of what kind of challenges we've got, which is we want to rewrite the code for all the games. There's 56 games, it's a whole lot of games. We've got to put together an IDE and get some people involved to write games for us on this platform. If that goes well, we'll be releasing it on other platforms. Zachariah, the stuff that really doesn't have a lot of support. Allied Leisure, Game Plan, Zachariah. I don't think there's a lot of repro guys out there who are going to reproduce these CPUs. And we'll probably do it, and depending on what people start to push us into that direction for. The software development stuff should all be consistent though, so if you can program it used to programming a System 80 game, you will then be able to program a Zachariah game, a Game Plan game. It's all going to be the same. All right, I've discussed with you, what it is that what makes us able to do the software and hardware. We separated the code and the stuff that creates a CPU into 4 logical sections. The hardware, which is, this hardware, which is seeing here without the CPU, is an API, hardware API, and hardware library that we talk to this with. And I make that API for each different platform, System 80, Bally, System 1, Game Plan. And then there's this thing here, which has the rest of the APIs, the software APIs that hook into our development environment. Ultimately, we want to be able to provide hardware and software for anyone who wants to create a pinball machine has that need. He should be able to buy this hardware for the platform he wants to code on and start writing code. Mark's going to be the person who's going to really add the coating, the layer of frosting to the project, because he's going to make a soundboard that does wave file reproduction. So our computer would basically say, okay, play this sound 6. Then it'll be whatever you program into his soundboard for a wave file. I'm not speaking for Mark, but it'll also go directly in place of the existing hardware, so it will replace a System 80 sound card and a System 1 and a System 1 sound. But I don't know how many of you guys really want to learn about what's on that board. If you say, I want to know about the FPGA, why I used it, and the PIC and the Z80, great, I'll go into it. But otherwise, I think I'm going to skip over that. Any complaints? Why it's designed this way, why we've got through-hole parts, and why we've got surface mount parts, I want to get to demonstrating what this system does now. Oh, okay. I think it's fine. This basically tells us what do I do with the CPU when I control it by the laptop here. So I'm going to start that right now. I'm going to turn off this projector, and I'm going to, if you guys can't see, come up around the game here, and what I'm going to try and do is to bring up a serial terminal connection that you hook into your modem or whatever handles RS-232 computer connections, and that I'm going to hook into the CPU here. So this is going off for a while. Great. If not, I would urge you to get up, exercise your legs. See if you can't see what's happening here. What's in the haunted house here is one of our CPUs, and you can see it there. The mounting for this CPU in the System 80 games is not much. The old CPU, we only use 4 of the mounting posts, but all the rest of the cables, as you can tell, hook right into where they normally would go, except for the display cable. The top half folds over to the top part of the board. We save some real estate on there, save some costs, and a lot of blank board space is pretty ugly. Now when you turn the game on, the System 80 warms up pretty much the same amount of time that the old CPU does. What's happening is that the Z80 is downloading to the FPGA all the I/O functionality that tells that hardware that it's a System 80 game. If it were in a Gottlieb System 1 game, it would be downloading different code telling it this is how I do I/O to a Gottlieb System 1. Now you can see it. It looks pretty similar to the original haunted house game. It's got the playfield animation. It's got normal game lights that flicker between high score and low score. But the difference is when I get at this thing, let's see if I can hook in. Now you can't see this display, but it's can I get it somewhere between here? How far over can I get with this? Not really far. Alright, well that's just the way part of it. You can do such things as stop the animation, and let's try and throw something on the something on those displays, like display all 8s or display all 4s or whatever. So you, as a hardware technician, if you've got a computer hookup, this is a great diagnostic tool to figure out what lamps don't work, what solenoids don't work. You can fire solenoids. Let's see, can we hear anything? Can't hear that. That launched the ball out of the trough there. You can control each of the solenoids individually, lamps individually, light all the lamps, douse all the lamps, how this thing works. Now, the next part that is going to be of interest to you is how do we decide when I put that CPU into the game, how do I make it a Gottlieb System 80 haunted house game? This cable not only controls the CPU and gives it commands to do firing and diagnosing the game, but it also downloads the game code. And in this system, what I've got into it is a haunted house, revision 1. I can download game code by telling the system to accept new program code, hitting the send button here, and again, you really can't see it from way back there. That's your own fault, so. And I'm going to download it, and I'm going to make it a black hole system. Now, right now what's happened is the computer erased all the flash on the CPU. It's no longer a haunted house game. In fact, it's nothing right now. Now it is downloading Black Hole, the game code of Black Hole, to the CPU. And this is the part that, Mark Mandeltor and Steve Young are a little bit concerned about. How do I make sure I can keep up and sell these to my customers with the right code on it. Now, how difficult is it going to be to make sure this game is the right flavor? Done. Now it's a black hole CPU. The game resets, and we're probably going to hear some solenoids flashing on and off, because in the animation routine for black hole, it's a whole lot different than haunted house. Well, not much, but there are solenoids that are controlled, lamps that are controlled, that control solenoids in the black hole that aren't in the haunted house. So it looks pretty similar. On the other hand, though, if you look at the query for the system, it's now a black hole system. I'm really sorry we haven't got this on the full screen up there. Now, so that's all it takes to reconfigure the entire CPU from one game to the next. Now, what do I have to do if I want to go through and the game has not been written yet? I've got a counterforce, and there's one out here, and I was close to taking it aside and trying to reprogram it. I've got a counterforce, but NeWump has not written the code yet for that. The hardware is there, and obviously the hardware can do whatever I need for a System 80. I'm going to need to write game code for a new System 80. And that is what I really need to put this back on the projector here. So I'm going to put this back. Nope, stay right there. That's called the garage. This is haunted house. So you can see on the left-hand side here, you'll see routines that correspond to kind of familiar parts on the game. The attic, spot target number 1, 2, 3, 4. What will happen when you're creating or writing a game is you're going to take, anyone have a manual here? All game manuals, you're going to find a couple of things. The first thing you're going to find is a switch matrix table. And the switch matrix table tells you when you've got this particular switch, it's this row and this row. And this is, in this game, you'll see, for example, switch number 13 is the cellar up kicker. What you'll do is you get a template of this table blank. It's got numbers in it. Basically, it's got just numbers saying 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. You go through and you say, okay, switch number 44 is pop bumpers. Okay, go over there. And I'm going to make that be equal to... No, that's great typing. Whatever you want to call it. You basically go to that number here, create the name of the drop target, and great, you're done. Now, once you've gone through and you've transcribed the switch matrix table into this first part of the development environment, you've got an idea of names for switches, and that really helps, because you don't want to remember 14 is, let's give it a name. Then we're going to right click on that, and we're going to say, I want to write a routine for great target. So we'll go here, I right click, and it comes up and it says there's nothing written for that, it's a brand new target, and you're going to start writing code for this. And the first thing you say is, I want to light a lamp. I'm going to light lamp number 1X, whatever the heck that thing is. Obviously turn it on or off. Sorry, I'm going to turn it on. Done. You've already done your first piece of coding. Now, I skipped over a step. I apologize. I only showed you the first table, the switch table. There is also the solenoid table. Each game has another table of what are the solenoids used in the game. Solenoid number 1 resets the bank. Solenoid number 2 shoots the ball out of the hole. So fill in that table. And again, you'll have a blank thing here that will say not used when there is no solenoid there. And you fill in the areas where it says number 4 is the attic floor bank reset. Then you've already got the switch matrix table, you've got the lamp matrix table. Now you fill in the last set of tables is the switch, solenoid, lamp matrix table. Now when you've done this, what you've got is you've got a reference of logical words that you can associate with what's going on. Lamp number 21. It's a sound. Lamp number 31 is the cellar 5 bank reset. It's not just lamp number 31. Now when you go into the IDE and you say I want to turn on that lamp, you get the chance to, hello, out of my way guys. No, not reading it, thank you very much. So what was it, the cellar bank reset? You just go down to the lamp that makes sense to you. I don't know where I was. It doesn't matter. And turn it on or turn it off. So now you've got a way of coding the game with labels that make sense to you. The solenoids are the same thing. I want to light up a solenoid. I want to do just S solenoid number silicup, possible on the silicup. Now you've got basically tables that give you an idea of what actually is on those games instead of numbers. You can go through, start coding, and when you put those labels in the game development environment, automatically creates these lists of your labels in there. So you no longer ever think about numbers. That kind of helps. Now, once you're all done, you've got maybe one switch coded. You know, I've got this number run bank hit. I lit up a light very good, or I might have shot off a solenoid. Now I want to try it. Now I want to find out, did I do anything that makes sense? I want to get it out of the board. I'd save it off. Oh, I'm not here. But I'd save off my code locally. And then I'd launch it. I'd send the data that I had just written to the NeRump site. NeRump takes this. This is all XML. You don't need to know that, but this is all kind of readable language in your file when you have the file on your hard disk. Takes that file from your hard disk, sends it to NeRump. NeRump translates it into actual machine code, and then creates an image for you to download into your game. So you hit the launch code build. Takes about 60 seconds. The game gets compiled. Go off to the next area in our website where basically you see here, I'm the developer. You'll go to anywhere where your name is, and you're going to have entered in your name in the development environment somewhere. So you go to where your code gets dumped when it's compiled. You can click on the main.bin, and there's your image. There is your new game code. Downloads to your computer. Then you do exactly what I just did here before, which is to bring up this serial port here and do a download from wherever you saved it on your computer to the flash RAM on that. And that is pretty much as complex as it gets, which, let's see, it isn't too bad, but let me give you an idea of how long it took me to get to times. The flash is pretty good. If you screw up, and I've done it already, so I changed the code. If you screw up and you say download this code, and you for some reason transfer a text file into the game, if you power off the CPU, power it back on again, and within 1 second hit a key on your computer, it gets to the bootloader, and the bootloader says, I see you screwed something up. Would you like to download some real code to the game? That part, the bootloader does not get overwritten, so you can recover bad downloads. If for some reason it's corrupt, you can recover bad downloads. Now, what I told you about, and I'm going to take a break on some of this development of the hardware, developing the code, and ask you guys, where should we go? We've got the 3 top